What's up, bro, man? I know you're gonna get it in this year, man. Be looking at you. Or you going to Alabama? I heard, or something like that. I'm looking for you. Oklahoma. Okay. All right. Let's get it. Let's get it. You're gonna be a Sooner. Let's go. I'm ready. I am ready for that one. Are you going this year or next year? Like, are you there now, or are you gonna be there, or are you just signed to go next year? Okay, okay, okay. All right, okay. Oh yeah, I'm about to dial in to you now, man. I'm about to figure it out. I'm about to start following some Sooners. Red shirt. Oh yeah, that's the best thing. Focus on your schoolwork. Double major. Go for the summer, knock it out, stay every summer, do your work. I guess they pay you. When I was in college, when I went D1, I would go for the summers and they would pay me to take class. Like I would get money from the government. What's going on? I'm just waiting on one of my guys to sign in. We're about to talk some health. He's an actual doctor though. Natural medicine. Not allopathic medicine. We don't deal with that too much, man. We don't deal with the synthetic medication that they do in the lab. We're just talking all herbal stuff. I'd have a good talk. So yeah, definitely. So when he joins on, we're gonna definitely talk. Stay tuned. Some good stuff. This is a guy, he really knows his stuff. He knows probably about, I don't know, about 5, 10 times as much as I know. I'm new to this stuff. He's been doing this forever. So there we go. He's about to sign on now. What's up, Ramon? And where's this guy? Oh, we're gonna talk some health, Ramon. We're gonna talk some good stuff. What's going on? Oh yeah, bro. I'm getting on. Okay. Okay. Hey, Ramon. Hey, what's up? Hey, I gotta call y'all back. You back in Jamaica?
Nope.
Oh no! Oh, so you went to Maryland, huh? Hey, I'm gonna call y'all back.
Okay.
What's going on? About to talk some health pretty soon. About to talk some good talk. You know, the flu season's coming, so we definitely gotta. There we go. All right. We're just waiting. We're about to have a great talk today, a great health talk today. There,
Peace. There we go.
what's
There
up?
we go. What's going on with you, brother?
Nothing much, man. Highly anticipated. What's up?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You know, I'm just enjoying this day. Just enjoying the day. How about yourself? Where you at? You got palm trees and some wax plants behind you. Where you at?
I'm somewhere ducked off, So,
Okay, okay.
but yeah, man, we're gonna get into the talk, man. I first want you to introduce yourself. There's a few viewers on now, but pretty soon we're gonna have more viewers. But introduce yourself.
Word.
Let them know who you are, because I'm gonna play this video back. I'm gonna put it on my page,
Okay.
so everyone's gonna know. They're gonna see it. I'm gonna put it on my Facebook also, because I need them to hear from an actual a person who actually has their credentials in this. Because I know I talk a lot, I run my mouth, and no one may not believe me, but I'm glad I can run into somebody who believes in the majority of what I believe in, so that you can spit it the way you spit it.
Absolutely. Well, you know, my name is Dr. Prince J. Moore L., Doctor of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. I've been in the field for the last 10 years, not only with acupuncture, also with body work. And primarily my practice is in dietary, transitional, and consultatory therapies, you know. So what my practice for the last several years more or less has been showing a lot of my clients and my patients how they can make small adjustments in either their diet, their lifestyle to get a healthier response. You know, I'm not one that necessarily challenges the allopathic conventional system of medicine. You know, the Western system. What I seek to do is complement what it is that Western medicine has done. You know, in the form of diagnostics. You know, I'm one to really just look at what the complete blood count is looking like, so that way I know what areas to really focus on. You know, so it's just another way of saying, like, you know, the science proves, you know, that once we're empowered with the information and the diagnosis, can do is, you know, we can make adjustments for what that person is dealing with, you know, that person dealing with particularly, you know. And what I've also felt and strove to do is just show that, you know, Western medicine is not necessarily the end all be all. It's about an instant gratification, you know, and it's definitely not for long-term use of any of the pharmaceutical drugs that they give out. You know, oftentimes, you know, just speaking from a professional perspective, you know, the allopathic doctors are just issuing prescriptions to patients that they don't feel are going to make any adjustments to their lifestyle, right? So it's just like saying, okay, you're not going to make the adjustments or feed your body these substances. Fine, let me give them to you in this form. It's going to have some additional side effects, but if you have any other side effects, just come back and I'll give you something else, because you're still not going to make the adjustment, you know? So oftentimes, one of the reasons why it seems as though a lot of doctors are against diet is because when they start eating certain foods, it actually makes the drugs work too well. And so that's a dangerous thing. So, you know, again, in a complimentary fashion, I'd speak with my client, you know, my patients, and I say, hey, what are you trying to make happen? Okay, do you want to still take the drugs, or do you want to come off the drugs? I need to know so that way I know how to assess this properly, right? Now, if they're definitely saying that they want to come off the drugs, I tell them the first thing first, go back to your regular doctor and ask them to reduce the amount of the medication that you're taking. So that way we can start, you know, making that adjustment. Now, when they start doing that and they do it with just one thing, usually like a painkiller or, you know, some type of, you know, multivitamin, you know, panel deficiency, they're like, okay, so this is what I'm going to take instead of that. Yeah, this is definitely going to go that, you know, this is going to take care of this. It's going to help you out with that, you know. And oftentimes people are like, wow, there are so many extra benefits to eating my medicine, as it were, like you always talk about, you know, like letting the food be thy medicine, you know, even before Hippocrates, you know, they were making these types of therapeutic approaches in Egypt, in, you know, Mesopotamia, you know, all throughout Native America as well, you know, Central America. So culturally, different people have their different systems of medicine, and usually it just comes in the way that we eat, right? But when you come to this country and this country influences you with foods that may not have the same level of vitamin or nutritional density as the food you might get someplace else, you know, we're still deficient. So we got to definitely make sure that we, you know, get those things in. You know, I could talk about this all day, but, you know, I also wanted to ask you, you know, what got you into the health and wellness industry, you know, like being an advocate the way that you do?
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to continue to ask you questions because I have a lot of questions for you, but we can talk about me.
All right.
Yeah. I talk about me a lot. I get tired of talking about me. But the reason why I got into it, the reason being is because of the sickle cell trait. It's having to deal with a situation where I actually have a blood disorder, right? Where I have one abnormal hemoglobin, A hemoglobin, S hemoglobin, A hemoglobin. So from there, you know, I was in college playing basketball. I was having issues. I was cramping up and almost losing my kidneys, muscle breakdown, a lot of stuff, right? CK levels were high. And I didn't know what to do, right? I was asking the team trainers and the team doctors and all that. They're like, oh, well, let's take a look and let's do a muscle biopsy. They say, oh, nothing comes back. And it's like, oh, well, you know, we think it's in your head. We don't believe that it's that is it, right? We think it's your mind is so strong. You know, they try to compliment you in the same process, right? They say your mind's so strong, you're such a strong personality that your mind is controlling your body. It's forcing your body to cramp up and lock up and for it to break down. I'm like, that's not true. I'm like, listen, if that was the case, but if I show symptoms and signs of someone who is, I don't know, that had a severe anxiety disorder or depression disorder, yeah. But I think what was going on was that it was a difference of environment, because I come from an environment where it's rough, right? I don't come from the nicest part of the USA. I come from the underbelly, right? What they would say, right? Grew up without a father. All my friends didn't have fathers. I saw people doing drugs and syringes in the streets and stuff like that. I saw people getting shot when I was young, 5, 6, 7 years old, had a gun to my head at 6. So I'm from that place, right? So whenever I'm approached with hostility, I typically give back hostility. Then now I walk away. I don't even care, right? Or I'll say my piece, and then I'll walk away because I don't let it go to that point. But then it was like, you call me soft, you call me weak because my body's figured out, right? As a coach, coaches were calling me weak and soft and pussy and all that. At 18, calling me soft, weak, and pussy, I'm ready to hit you in your face. I'm not about to talk to you. I wanna get physical. And I guess they saw that as some type of severe anxiety, depression disorder. Yeah, I may have dealt with some type of PTSD, but why coach someone that way? Why approach a
Right.
child that way at that point? Or a young man, whatever you wanted to call me at that point. Why approach
Right.
me with such hostility? Why not try to talk to me, try to figure it out? Because just like a doctor or anybody, oh, these are the symptoms that he's displaying. Well, what's the root cause?
Right.
If you're a coach, that's how you're supposed to approach each player. But anyways, that's the mental side, right?
Right.
But for them to go as far as what you're dealing with mentally, physically, that's just a figment of your imagination that's tricking your body out. Like, what? They put me on all these pills. They put me on Effexor. Do you know what Effexor is?
Not off top, you know.
Effexor is a severe anxiety depression medication. Had me loopy, man. It felt like I was like in a slowed down reality or time warp, right? Like it was like, I had never smoked until after that point because I wanted to kind of
Wow.
compare it, right?
Right.
So I'm like, damn, like, shit, smoking and this bad. This shit was like the worst high you could ever felt, and I had to take that shit once a day.
Wow.
Like it was like
All
being
that for some depression and anxiety,
that's it, right?
and still
And
not taking care of the problem.
still not taking care of the problem. They don't know if it's a deficiency of serotonin or
Right.
just me not seeing the sun or getting enough minerals. They don't know. They're just saying, hey, we think it's this. This is what it is, and that's what it is. So I
Right.
took myself off those pills and whatever, and we clashed, and they kicked me off the team. Whatever. Figured out I had sickle cell trait because they didn't know I didn't know. Figured it out. Then I started to say, okay, let me change what I put in my body. I know it's something that I can do because I started taking multivitamins around that same time, and I started feeling good. Even though it was synthetic, I feel a little better because in
Right.
college I'm not taking multivitamins. I'm not eating properly. These synthetic multivitamins are the best thing I've ever had for the last 2 years. I'm like,
Right. Right.
so once I stopped, I was still taking multivitamins and whatnot, but I was adding in greens. I was adding in fruit. I was adding in veggies. Because before then in college, man, I'm a child at that point. I don't know. All I'm eating is whatever's in front of me. Burgers and at that point it wasn't burgers, it was mostly like chicken sandwiches.
Hmm.
But fried, right? It wasn't even
Right.
baked. Eventually it was baked because I went in stages. I just cut back in stages. Um, Still eating fried. I would eat instead of fried rice at the the Chinese restaurant, I would eat white rice or brown rice.
Oh.
All right?
Okay.
But I'm still
Right.
eating
Right.
fried chicken and all that. But anyways, I played overseas because when I was playing, it was tough. I can only play 4 minutes at a time. They would put me in, pull me out, put me in, pull me out.
Hmm.
Still was Division II All American and all that. But it was
Right.
just hard. It was hard to play more than 25 minutes a game. I was on my knees gasping for air within the first 2 minutes of being in the game. So my body, I just didn't have any oxygen. I was oxygen deprived. I'm just running around not knowing what I'm doing, and even though I was fully hydrated because I would get IVs before every game, I would get oxygen tanks during the game, but I just couldn't. My body couldn't recuperate. It felt like my legs had constant lactic acid. Like it was burning the whole time. So I just played uncomfortable. Like I couldn't move. Like I couldn't dunk on people. I couldn't run past people. I was just locked up and slow.
Right.
So it almost drove me crazy because I had the skills. Like I still have the skills to be a top-notch athlete, a top-notch player.
Right.
But the thing is that I just couldn't do what I know I could do. So I was like, you know what, forget this. If basketball is not my path or not my calling,
Right.
definitely this health stuff. I was like, because
Yeah.
if that's the biggest challenge in my life, and I'm figuring things out on my own, where I'm asking my trainers, hey, what about citrulline? What about alanine? Arginine? What about
Right.
alanine, L-carnitine? All this stuff. I'm just like, what about the beta alanine? What about buffering the pH? What about all this stuff? And this was before Sevi. I had no idea
Right.
about Sevi until 6-7 years later, and I was just trying to figure it out. And everything I was trying to do was synthetic. I read Dr. Louis Ignaro, the guy who found nitric oxide in '98.
Right.
He had the Nobel Prize for it. I read his stuff, and I just couldn't figure it out because everything that I was figuring out was synthetic. It was nothing natural. It was nothing from nature. It was all from a lab. Take this, take that. And then once I did run across Sebi, but before I ran across Sebi, let me back up. Before I ran across Sebi, it was a woman, a Dominican woman, and she worked in the caf, and she was in the cafeteria. She was like, Lance, in her Spanish accent, she was like, Lance, I have friends who don't eat meat. I'm like, what? She's like,
Right.
yeah, they don't eat meat. They only eat vegetables. They look young. Their body's great. They're vibrant. I'm like, huh?
Right.
I'm like, because me, I'm stubborn. You know me. I'm stubborn.
Right.
So she's telling me, I'm like, no, get out of here. I'm like, yeah. She's like, Lance, no, really, really, really. Like, think about it. And then that was my senior year. I went off to play overseas that next year.
Right.
And I looked, I find the documentary Forks Over Knives at that point. Then Food Inc. Then I started reading
Right.
about a vegan diet or, the plants in general in my personal training book. Because I took one of the books from school. Like, I didn't steal it because I bought it, but I took the book. Yeah, I took the book from school, and I was like, I
Right.
want to figure out how this body works. I want to be stronger, faster. I want to be able to
Right.
understand biology to a higher degree. So I just took everything. I just took it, and whatever I didn't learn in school, I started reading after school, and kept adding on what I was learning during school. Because I didn't major in
Right.
biology or anything like that. Like, I basically taught myself. So,
Right.
so yeah, it was just it was a slow path, right? It took me about 5 years to really get a hold on this stuff. Like, I went overseas and struggled. I went to the Jaguars NFL, struggled. They cut me. And then I was like, man, forget this football stuff, man. Let me dive into it. I dove into it, came across Sebi.
Right.
Sebi's talking about all this craziness. I'm like, what is this? Who is this guy? Talking about he cured sickle cell trait, lupus, all this stuff. I'm like, what? And then I started to take it into consideration. I was like, okay, let me really dive into this. Okay,
Right. Mm-hmm.
let me remove, because I already had removed red meat. Let me remove the egg. Let me remove the chicken. Let me remove the turkey bacon and all that stuff. I started to feel better. Let me remove, and then the last thing I removed was my 1% milk. Once I removed that, oh my God, that and cheese, those two, well, butter, cheese, and milk. Once I removed those three, my life was different. Like, it was like I had dreams of being able to run miles and not cramp up. At that point, that was one of the first times in my life where I could get up, run a mile, and not cramp up. And
how long would it take to do it?
It took
You look like you run about a 7-minute mile, bro.
a 7-minute mile. No, way faster than
You look
that.
like you run way faster than 7.
Well, about a month
About
ago.
6:15.
Yeah, about a month ago I did a 6:15, but I was never a mile runner. Like, my body, I'm all
Okay.
types of muscle fibers. I'm a sprinter. I go 40-yard dash, 100-yard dash. But
Right.
but my fastest ever in college, in high school, was 6:26. I ran like a 6:36 like a month ago during the coronavirus.
Right. I hear that.
And I never really trained. I just got up and I was like, okay, in a week I got down to 6:36. Then I just stopped because it was like, it's just a mile, right? But a mile does determine your
Right.
VO2 max and all that. But like, I began to do things that my body wasn't accustomed to doing, and I was happy because what was first a dream now is a reality.
Right,
It's
right.
like I'm not suffering anymore. Then I went back to play basketball, and then I played full games.
No
Like
pain.
the first time I played the last time I had played a full game was I was like 15 years old. I played a full game. Did it twice. Lift weights before the
Mm,
game. Everything. It was like wow. It was like I feel like I'm a child again. Like I can just go. I didn't
right,
have to sit out practices. In college, I used to have to sit out practices and only play in games. So that's what really got me into it. It's just the fact that I was my own experiment. I put I was the living proof of what I'm preaching to other people. Right?
right,
Cut back on this, cut back on that, do this, do that. It's not like I'm just telling people to do this. No, my life changed because I implemented new things and took out other things, and I'm still gathering knowledge. I gather more knowledge from
yep,
you than a lot of people because not a lot of people can talk this. A lot of people talk that allopathic talk, and it's like no, I need the
right,
natural stuff. I need to know which herbs to take. I need to know how much water to take in or what type of water to take in. A lot of people think they should
right.
take in this spring water or this mineral water, this
No,
alkaline water. And we're going to talk about that.
no.
We're going to talk
Yeah,
about that.
man.
But my question to you is, let's back it up. You said earlier,
Okay.
you said doctors they give these medications, they prescribe the medications without actually considering other possibilities. Do you think that they even give that option to these people? Do you think they even consider it or say, hey, listen, yes, we believe in this, but there's other forms. So let me know which way you want to take. Like how you said, hey, back off the pills, now include more of the
Right,
natural stuff. Do you think that doctors even give a damn or even take in consideration that, the neuropathic way is a viable way? Do you think that they even
right.
care? Do you think that they don't even acknowledge it? What's your approach? What's your thought or your concept of how they approach what you do?
So, okay, so now like we have to make a clarification on things, right? Because there are doctors on both sides, right?
Yeah,
So there are doctors of allopathic medicine and then there are naturopathic doctors as well, and holistic doctors, So the doctors who say, yeah, this can be done are on the naturopathic side, right? So like we always got to make sure that we make that distinction in terms of who we're speaking about.
yeah,
So, the allopathic, the pharmaceutical doctors, not all of them are bad. And quite frankly, we were talking about this the other day. Not a lot of people are ready to make certain adjustments in their diet, right? A lot of people are still, unsure if it's really just that simple to just adjust their diet and their exercise regimen to get healthier results. So oftentimes, the allopathic pharmaceutical incentivized physicians, they really don't think that what a patient might ask for as far as information is going to be like, hey, is this food going to be helpful to me as like a sickle cell trait patient? They're not saying that because for the most part, their side of medicine doesn't deal with people in the preservation of life. Their side of medicine deals with instant gratification, like we need to make a drastic change right now, because most of the time people are coming into their hospitals and these clinic rooms when a traumatic event has already occurred, right? So they're already in pain. We don't know the majority of the time when you study pathology, the majority of the diseases all state idiopathic, meaning they don't know where it comes from, right? But again, they're not considering the individual. They're not considering the individual's family history, at least not all of them, because frankly, they're overwhelmed. You got like patient after patient after patient all running into the hospital, some with actual conditions, some with conditions that are really like some doctors would have said about you, all made up in their mind. And there really are a lot of patients who have things that are just like up here and not really here. But that would also be negating the fact that there's what you would call psychosomatic disorders, right? And I think that this is one of the most overly overlooked, misdiagnosed diseases that even most physicians and nurses go through while they're in medical school, right? Now, for the people who don't know what a psychosomatic disorder is, right? You know, the easy answer is like, if they think something's wrong, then their body, you know, reflects something wrong,
Like
right?
a hypochondriac.
Exactly, like, and that's exactly what it is.
Yep.
In psychiatry, in the medicine of psychiatry, right? That's what a hypochondriac is. Like, oh, it's all in your head. But if stress and happiness can both be simulated in the mind to have a sedative effect on the body, right? Or to have like a fight or flight response on the body, then happiness can also do the same thing. Feeling good
Yep.
can also do the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the reasons why some people are just like, they'll do emotional bypasses on the naturopathic side and just say, oh, if you start thinking that you feel better, you'll start feeling better. But that's not holistic. We got to definitely go a little bit further. We got to dig into the root of things, you know? Now, I'm the type to really like dig into, like, you know, look at the root cause and then ask my patient, hey, like, do you want to adjust the root, or do you want to address the tree limbs and the branches? You know, like, because the tree, exactly. So like, if they want to deal with the symptoms, you know, okay, what are the symptoms? You know, like how you brought it up, you know, that honestly, if I was in your situation, bro, like, yo, like, my hat's off to you for being able to have dealt with, you know, poor athletic physicians, you know, who are really not, they're not like, you know, they're not even general practitioners of medicine. They're more like just, you know, physical trainers who are looking at the physical body. They're not looking at, you know, the internal body. Like, what do you
Let's not
need?
let him off the hook. Let's not let him off the
No,
hook.
definitely not.
I was going to the MCV. It was the medical wing of the school. It's
Okay.
where yeah. So it was them telling, it was all of them together. It was the
Right.
psychiatrists with the team trainers, with the coaches, and then the doctor also, like the team physician, like
Right.
the real guy who actually works in the hospital. So it was a group of them, bro.
But
Like
like, but how do you like, if they did like, this is where I kind of get like a little frustrated with that side, because like, if you present to my office and you say, you know, Dr. Prince, I got sickle cell anemia.
well,
I'm gonna
they didn't know. They didn't know. I didn't know.
Right, but like if they're doing their job right and they're
They,
doing complete blood
they
counts
would have figured it out.
correctly, right? They
Yeah.
would have looked at it and they would have said, okay, maybe what we're seeing is not necessarily sickle cell anemia, but we see a subclinical expression of the disorder. Like, all the other signs and symptoms are there: the painful joints, you know, blood transfusions, all these other things that, like, from the acute side to the most chronic side of the condition. You know what I'm saying? And then see, like, as you being a male with the sickle cell, that's a rarity. You know what I'm saying? Like, because normally males are just, especially within the diaspora and dark skinned African American community, males are usually carriers of sickle cell. They don't usually have the expression, right? Like, it's something that usually affects Black women, African women, more than it does any other population of women. You understand?
No.
Now, so, you know, it being expressed in you, a male, it's like, whoa, is this sickle cell? Is this what sickle cell in a man looks like? Okay, let's start addressing it from the sickle cell side. You know, what's low? Hemoglobin, you know, iron, copper, you know, a few other vital important nutrients and minerals particular to the composition of the blood cell. Now, allopathic medicine like goes like from 0 to 100 real quick, you know, real effing quick, right? So they you know, sometimes they got to go a little bit slower so that way they can say, okay, hold on, we're looking at a blood disorder. Let's look at how, you know, like, because some of the pain signs are showing more about blood disorder, painful joints, you know, even like irritations on the skin, you know, like lethargy, tired, you know, oxygen depletion. What normally carries the oxygen is the blood, the red blood cell, right? Because oxygen binds to one iron molecule, which binds to 4 copper molecules. So, you know, if you don't have enough iron in the body, that's to say that the body doesn't have enough copper to bind the iron to the blood cell to make the you know, the riboflavin, you know, which becomes the disc of the blood cell, which can then bind oxygen to it until it gets to a muscle and then drops that oxygen off and takes on the gas, the carbon dioxide, right? But here it is, you know, one of the things I would have been looking at is like frequent urination, because if you don't have enough oxygen in the body, your body can only get rid of it through sweating or through urination, right? Now, you being an athlete, it's going to be hard to see where your body is getting rid of the carbon dioxide through higher perspiration, you know, through producing more sweat.
Yeah.
Right, you know, but your body, because you're physically more active, you know, and I think this is something I saw on your page just the other day, you know, most allopathic physicians only get they don't get 16 hours of dietary, you know, training or anything else like that, nutritional training, vitamins and minerals. They don't get that. The time that they do see it is when it's in, you know, toxicology or in pharmacology. So when they're deciding which drug to actually issue, right? Now,
That's
usually,
wild.
you know, you know, sometimes it'll be something simple where, you know, a simple mineral deficiency that could be evident in other ways, but allopathic physicians are not looking at the non-mechanical forms of diagnostics, right? They're not looking at the eyes, they're not looking at the tongue, they're not looking at what the nails are doing, you know, they're not smelling your breath, they're not asking you what's going on in your digestion, you know, to see what your metabolism is like. But when you go to, you know, naturopathic doctors, those are some of the things that you see and get. You know what I'm saying? Those questions. Doctors that are like looking all in your eyeball, you know, looking at the earwax in your ear, you know, looking at the film on your tongue, you know, smelling your breath at the same time, asking you the questions about like your sweating, where's the pain, what are you eating, what did you eat, you know what I mean? So, you know, there's definitely a difference, as we all can say, you know, between the two different sides of medicine. But, you know, I do want to say this, even though that side of medicine is just now starting to kind of catch up with, you know, the importance of diet, you know, like so much in fact that, you know, there are television shows now that have these doctors in their uniforms or whatever with a stethoscope, like that's supposed to just like qualify it automatically, you know, where now they're just starting to actually talk about the benefits of natural herbs and supplementation, you know, and even with, you know, some of the things that they talk about, you know, sometimes they're talking about the pros, sometimes they're talking about the cons, but it's not their specialty. It's not their scope of practice. So would you, you know, like it's like if you go to a mechanic, right? Like, you know, you got a mechanic for a wave runner and you got a mechanic for an automobile, right?
Yeah.
So if you got a wave runner, right, and something goes wrong in the wave runner that you can't put it in the water, are you going to go to the automotive doctor? No, because there's a difference in the process. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference in the application. You know, the systems and the processes might be similar, but it's not really what they deal with. You know what I'm saying? So they really, you know, the Western side is just now starting to see, okay, these natural herbs, they can work. It's not really my specialty. I tell you what, this is where like the bridging of the medicines actually needs to come into play. There needs to be that professional courtesy between the allopathic medical community and the naturopathic medical community, where they say, hey, can you provide the patient with an alternative form of care? And the reason why that doesn't seem like that exists is because most Western physicians don't know that Eastern medicine or holistic medicine can actually approach some of those same disorders and be successful with their treatment, you know?
My question is it's like how? Like the reason why I say that with such frustration is because nature has been around longer than laboratories have been around. How do you not know
Absolutely.
that?
the natural doesn't work before. It's almost, me personally, when I look out and I understand, what's going on in the world, it's almost as if we say, okay, let's take what is the most unnatural way because it has a quick fix, and let's just not even consider. Let's not even teach the doctors who go to school for, what, 8 years, they say, 12 years or something, like whatever they go to school
Right.
for. Out of those 8, 12 years, they don't learn what ginger does. They don't learn what turmeric does. Turmeric and black pepper combined, what
No,
that
but see,
does for.
but see, once again, like that's
Talk
the
that
reason why,
talk, man.
like, they do make some adjustments in the patient's diet. They do say, hey, you can't eat these foods because they have the same effect on the body as the medication. Now, the patient at that point is supposed to say, wait, okay, these foods have the same effect as the medication. Well, can't I just eat these foods more often? Yes, but how frequently does a person that's in pain or physical discomfort actually make the conscientious decision to say,
Yeah.
wait, what about ginger? Somebody bring me a cup of ginger tea right now.
Let me stop you
Wait,
right
hey,
there.
hold on.
Let me
What
stop you
about
right there.
turmeric? Please,
That
please.
That's exactly what I preach all the time. I'm like, hey, listen, if you are in physical pain, you cannot think clearly. Like, you're
Right,
stuck. You like, it is impossible for like somebody to stab you in the leg, like an extreme example, somebody to stab you in the leg and for you to make a sound logical
right,
decision, a logical reasoning.
right,
So now imagine living life, but you not knowing it, in a physical distress or a physical dis-ease. Do you think you
right.
really every thought, every decision you make in your life is going to be the best decision mentally?
Listen, no, like even as someone who does like, mindful meditation, alternative forms of exercise, even the most like the strongest mind, who can endure some pain is still making a decision under duress. You understand? Like, and like that's oftentimes how people sign like some of those contracts because they're under medical duress. They're
Yep.
under pain. They're under, and the doctors often won't do anything until they say, well, does the patient have insurance? Like before we consider the disease, if it's not an emergency room, right? The doctor usually is saying, well, what's the insurance policy look like? Who's paying for this? Are you paying for this? Or is the insurance company paying for this? Because they're assessing a number, right?
Yeah.
So, here it is that the patient still has to fill out all this financial paperwork before they even discuss their medical issue, right? Now that we got the paperwork out of the way, let's do the medical paperwork. Okay, hold on. I'm still in pain. It's 15 minutes later, 30 minutes later, an hour and a half later. I just finished signing the last paper. What else do you want? You know what I'm saying? I once had a friend whose appendix was getting ready to explode, right? Now, he had like a little bit of a herniation, and like he knew that he had a little bit of a mild herniation because he had abdominal pain, but he didn't know that it was so bad that his appendix was getting ready to like bust open, right? So I take him to the emergency room, and this is, mind you, this is while I'm in medical school. I knew that it was appendicitis because I performed a quick, abdominal test to see, which is the McBurney's point, all right? Which is where you touch the intersecting point from the umbilical button, the belly button, to the height of the hip, and then you'll find the middle area, right? So this place right here, if a person presses down, this is exactly where the appendix is going to be. When you lift your hands, the person, they scream, Then you do the same thing on the other side. If they, on the other side, that's how you definitely know it's appendicitis. So here it is that I take there we are in the emergency room. The doctors, the nursing staff doesn't even want to touch him until he signs his insurance policy, right? 30 minutes later, like there he is on the stretcher, like, after he signed all the paperwork, they come and tell him, yeah, the doctor will be with you in just a minute. So here we are, 30 minutes in the emergency room, still waiting for the doctor to come and see, this patient. 15 minutes later, The doctor finally shows up. Hey, what's wrong? My friend is in pain, so he's not talking very much, except ah. The doctor says, I'm going to need a little bit more than that. I say it's appendicitis. His appendix is getting ready to burst. How do you know? Because I did the non-mechanical diagnostic. He's like,
What the
oh, well,
fuck
we're
is
still
that?
going to need to. He's like, I was like, do the McBurney's point, you know? Like, he's like for a second, he pauses and he's like, okay, that's right, McBurney's point. Then he finally goes and does it. He's like, okay, well, I guess we're going to prep him for surgery at this point. Because really, there's nothing that they can do because, you know, at that point when it's appendicitis with inflammation to so much to the point that it may explode, they're making a decision to like remove that organ. This is where the whole do not harm concept needs to be reevaluated, not by the physician, but by the patient, right? So when a patient is in severe pain because they have not made lifestyle adjustments that would lead up to reducing the risk and the odds of them developing a situation like appendicitis, right? The doctor in an emergency situation now has to make the sound, ethical, medical decision to either perform surgery and remove the organ before it explodes and increases the risk of blood poisoning, internal bacterial infection, and everything else. All that because a patient, an emergency room patient, did not see the signs and symptoms as they were building up, you know, and would have treated it themselves. And most of the time, you know, like not many people know, you know, like we're in a small community of people that actually know the benefit of like how, you know, ginger can help out with, you know, acute pain, right? Or an acute fever, right? And like help knock that out real fast, you know, at least to the point where like you can use that as a pain management temporarily until you get some more sense about what else is happening, you know, like is it a serious thing? You know, like sometimes just reducing the pain for a person just a little bit with a little ginger, a little turmeric. Now a person can say, okay, I can think better. Okay, this is what's happening, right? But instead, when a person's in there, and it's hand up here, hand down here, hand someplace else, you know, an emergency room physician is like, okay, let's check the head because he's holding the head, and let's check the abdomen because he's holding the abdomen, and we'll figure it out some point later, and you know, sooner or later, you know. So, you know, we can't always blame the physicians. You know, oftentimes we really got to look at the lifestyle and the habits of the patient. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of the reason why that system of medicine exists, you know, because a lot of patients have not made lifestyle adjustments to reduce their risk of being in there.
So Prince, so this is the way I see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I see the doctors as being the right hand, right? And the left hand being the institutions in which we're brought up in. Because nobody's parents are going to know this unless they are somebody like you. You know what I mean? Like nobody's sitting up here studying this stuff. But the thing is that if life is the most important thing, life, to live, to be healthy, that means health has to be the most important thing. Right? Which means instead of teaching me algebra, teaching me literature, teaching me whatever, calculus, whatever, why isn't it that every year of every grade age or whatever in school, from K through 12 and through college, there's 1 hour set aside for health? And every year it gets increasingly intense to where you can learn stuff like what you know.
Well, you know, like the PE classes, the physical educational classes are really supposed to do that. However, because we have school athletics, and this is, you know, like I wrestled in high school. So like, you know, if you're an athlete, you come across some of this information and like, you know, like, but again, that's a smaller like group of athletes that are performing at a different level, like what you did. You know what I'm saying? To the point where that, you know, they improve their odds of going to college and playing ball, you know, getting into the professional leagues and still doing their thing there, right? But if there was more impact or more uh, tutelage and training on the actual like biological chemistry, you know, and like, you know, the different systems of the body, how they perform, you know, then instead of like performing on like, okay, we're gonna play basketball so that way, you know, the basketball students can, you know, basically practice their shots before the game tonight, you know, or we're gonna play football for PE because we want to let the football team, you know, have an opportunity to train for their game tonight, you know, warm up. So like, you know, like even when I wrestled, it was the same thing. Like I had weight training, you know what I'm saying? Like I learned how certain muscles move. And so like those were the muscles that I trained, but I also ran a lot too during weight training, you know, because I had to cut weight, you know what I'm saying? So like, but for like wrestlers, I feel wrestlers, and this is no insult to any other sport, right?
Yeah.
Wrestlers are by far, wrestlers and swimmers are two of the most intelligent athletes because wrestlers have to know what and how to eat in order to cut weight. Swimmers have to know what and how to eat so that way they can move faster through the water. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Their bodies need a certain level of fat so that way they maintain buoyancy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, whereas like
Yeah.
exactly hydrodynamics, all of that. You know, same thing. And then like, you know, then you start looking at track and field athletes. They become like more aware of like how certain proteins influence and affect their muscular development in their body, but they don't think about the formation of blood cells. You know what I'm saying? They're not thinking about you know, enzymes to help break down proteins and fats. You know what I'm saying? And carbohydrates. You know, otherwise, you know, there could be an excess, a condition that arises out of excess, or a condition that arises out of deficiency. You know what I'm saying? Because now, like when I was a high school athlete, and maybe you can tell me whether or not this was like either you or some, you know, teammates.
Yeah.
Did you take like you know, animal stack or, you know, creatine products and these sorts of things like when you were, right? So
Well, no. I did it. I did. Well,
right.
When I was in high school, it was 2000, before 2007, right? Before 2007,
Right.
we didn't know about this stuff. This stuff became popular after like YouTube and stuff like that. I
Now,
had no
see,
idea any
for
of
me
this stuff
in
existed.
2001 is when I graduated high school, right?
Yeah.
So for me, like I was already into fat burners, you know, which were more like thermogenic products, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned how
Like L-carnitine.
exactly
Yeah.
L-carnitine, you know,
Yep.
and like and then, you know, tourmaline and
Mm-hmm.
these other like, you know, energy boosting supplements that help you burn more fat. Like I was like, oh, okay, but you know, when you hear those things, you're not hearing you know, Garcinia gambosia, you know what I'm saying, which has L-arnitine and you know, and a few other things that help speed up the energy. You know, you're not being presented with ginseng, you know what I'm saying, an adaptogen that helps to increase energy production. You know, you're not thinking about the B vitamins or cayenne pepper, cinnamon, cardamom, you know, more ginger, you
Yeah.
know, those
Turmeric.
types of foods, turmeric, you know,
Yeah.
which
Uh-huh.
helps increase thermogenic activity,
Uh-huh.
more fat burning, you know, more fat management, you know, better energy production. A lot of people don't hear that kind of conversation. And when you start talking that way, they're like, wait, what are you talking about? And we're just talking about proteins and the fats, you know, that you eat on a regular basis, the carbohydrates, you know, and you know, a person's energy. Well, we're going to determine that like how many times do you eat a day? You know what I'm saying? This is one of the easiest questions most patients get wrong. You know, these two questions: how many times do you eat a day, and how many bowel movements do you have a day? Right? Because after you eat one meal, your body on a regular diet, not a standard American diet, but it takes the body 8 hours to process food from the time that you put it here to the time that it comes out the back door. That's normal. That's on average, right? If you got a faster metabolism like you have a very fast metabolism. I have a very fast metabolism. Even though you have a lot of muscle, you have to do a lot of working out to keep your body, to keep the muscle tissue. You still have to eat a sufficient amount of food not calories, because a calorie is just a measurement of heat. It's
Man,
not.
hey, break this down. Please break this down for the people, man. Because let people know what you're actually doing when you're supposed to be consuming food. Let them know, because
So
that's the most basic thing that's the most overlooked.
it really is, like you got to be eating for a purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to eat to live a life that's like free of pain, discomfort, gas, bloating, constipation, immune deficiency, and everything else like that. So, because I want a life that's built on all of that, I have to eat that way, right? Which means that I don't eat the foods I don't know what they would do to the body. If I eat a green apple, I know that the fiber in the green apple is going to help me make a turd, and the malic acid in the green apple skin is going to help detoxify my liver. So I want to keep healthy liver. I eat a green apple a day, right? Or I wanted to, lower the cholesterol level. I eat a grapefruit. Why? Because grapefruit helps to reduce, and improve the liver's ability to process cholesterol, high density lipids, low density lipids, otherwise known as fats, right? And help release those into the bile duct, so that way, hey, the liver, which filters the blood before it goes to the heart, is able to collect all the cholesterol that might be in the bloodstream from after digestion, right? Is able to take all of that cholesterol from out of the liver, deposit that into the gallbladder while the blood continues on to the heart, and then pumps that cholesterol-free deoxygenated blood to the lungs, back to the heart before it goes back into the body. You know what I'm saying? And like digestion is something that most people don't understand either. You know what I'm saying? Like there is a certain way to eat for like what your body is doing. Just because a green apple works for me or a grapefruit might work for me doesn't mean it's going to work for, you or the young woman, or the young man who might have, might be the same weight, but a different height. You know what I'm saying? Might be eating more fried foods, you know what I'm saying, with absolutely no fiber, putting in a whole bunch of other junk, maybe they're not even eating, the taking supplements for multivitamins yet, because they haven't learned that type of stuff. And, like when you think about like some of the places that we come from, like I'm originally from New York City, right? I graduated high school in Miami. So some of the places that I lived at in Miami, the corner store or the gas station doesn't have the kind of food that would be conducive to a high-powered athletic machine like yours or mine, let alone the average man, young woman, child, boy, girl, whatever, even grandma. We don't have those types of food sources in our communities. Therefore, like, why are we going to learn about the benefits of those foods when it's like it's something that if you don't use it, why do you lose it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's atrophy, right? Like with muscle tissue. If
Yep.
you're not using certain muscles after a long time, they begin to weaken and decay and deplete, right? And so like the muscle gets smaller, right? So muscle tissue is the same thing like what would happen in the brain. There are places in your brain that if you're not using or like not sending synaptic signals to that part of the region of the brain, you forget. And that's what you call memory. Your body is locking on to certain sensations based on memory. That's why Alzheimer's is such a dangerous disease, because as the myelin and the nerve tissue begins to decay, right? The person is losing their neural connectivity, which has them making different associations, which tell those nerves to fire a certain way to produce a certain neurotransmitter that either increases the serotonin dopamine level, processes the sunlight and converts it into melatonin, for pineal gland activity to regulate, you cycle, the breathing cycle, the heart rate, digestion, elimination, even reproduction. You know what I'm saying? So, it, I don't know. I don't know where you want me to stop
you
at.
know what? We gotta make this a weekly situation. The reason being is because I think what we're doing now, or I think what you're doing right now, is you're uncovering, you're basically lifting a lid off of a lot of things at once, and you can dive much deeper, but you're just touching on the top, on the surface of it. Because I have a
Right.
lot of athletes who follow me, right? I have a lot of people who are concerned with the mental aspects, because I have a question about like video games. Like me
Right.
personally, when I play video games, I like free world games where I'm figuring out stuff like a puzzle. Like I feel like I get smarter after that, right?
Yeah.
I love stuff like that. I definitely want to talk about that aspect because me personally, I know a lot of people who are completely against video games. But me, I'm not against video games to the point where, hey, never do it. Yeah, limit your
Right.
time doing it, go out into the real world. But if you're playing free world games where you're making connections and putting that together and figuring out puzzles and stuff, I feel like that's getting
Yeah.
your brain firing. Like I feel like I'm
Absolutely.
very sharp when I'm playing my like I love I like playing it's a game called Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
You know about Assassin's Creed?
Yeah, I know about it. I know about it.
I'm figuring this stuff out, going here, unlocking this, and putting that together, and figuring that out, and that's it. Yeah, I'm fighting, and I'm keeping my brain sharp and all that. But I'm figuring things out and understanding why that goes here. But
Right.
I definitely want to talk about that because I know that reading also is a huge thing. Like me, at one point I was in between 3 books, 4 audiobooks, 5 documentaries. I
Right.
wanted as much knowledge as possible to the point where I was like, I'm overwhelmed. Let me just stop. I feel like that mental aspect also is completely overlooked, completely not even
It
thought of.
totally is. It totally is, because often, like, I think that what gets neglected in that is how it programs the body's fight or flight system and its rest or digest system. You know what I'm saying? A free world game is gonna raise your heart rate a little bit. A bang bang shoot 'em up game is gonna raise your heart rate up a hell of a lot, right?
Yeah.
Now, like, the interesting thing is that, like, when the body goes into fight or flight, situations, right? Cortisol, yeah, we're talking about cortisol release, but we're not just talking about cortisol release, right? We're talking about brain satiety and brain satisfaction, right? So again, remember I mentioned that stress in any form, whether physical or mental, has the same effect on the body, right?
Mhm.
Again, this is a psychosomatic relationship, right?
As above is below.
As above, so below. As above the neck, so below the neck, right? So let's say that you raise the heart rate a little bit, right? The brain perceives through the senses, either through the music, because the music changes, dun, 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 dun,
The
dun, dun,
hertz,
dun,
the frequency.
right? The frequency changes. And now our ears are also connected to an accessory nerve that regulates the heart. If you ever, like if you clean your ear, you ever realize, like, where you're like, oh, like, like you ever, that's because it's like stimulating the heart. It's like massaging and caressing it. So, like, just that whole woo-sob thing actually has some serious science behind it, because the nerves that connect to the heart are auditory. All right. So now the frequency in the ear stimulates the brain to say, okay, there's something I need to be aware of, right? So the brain says, I need to put my body on alert, right? Now, most people are going to say the heart's going to become the next thing that gets alerted. It's not. The brain triggers the kidneys to release adrenaline, because cortisol can only be produced through adrenal secretion, right?
Yes. Yes.
In
Yes.
order to secrete the adrenaline, you have to secrete cortisol at the same time, right? But also, the kidney is also secreting another neurotransmitter that also helps the insulin work better in the body, right? Now, the adrenaline begins to flow through the bloodstream along with the cortisol. The cortisol is signaling certain cells to do apoptosis, cellular death. Release release the fats, release the proteins, release the carbohydrates, put that into the bloodstream, right? Now you got fat, lipids, carbohydrates, along with cortisol flying through the bloodstream. It hasn't gotten anywhere to the muscle tissue yet, but once it reaches the heart, it goes into circulation, and then the digestive organs shut down. In fight or flight stages, the digestive systems shut down. You don't need to eat anything. You don't need to excrete anything. You just need all the blood to your eyes, to your ears, and to your extremities.
So
right?
you can run and think and fast and like an animalistic state, right?
Exactly. Fight or flight. Exactly
Yep.
that. But some animals, if there's too much stimulation, they freeze up
Yeah.
and they knock out. And
Yep.
that could become, it's also been shown in nature to also be a defensive mechanism when a person freezes, because normally when a predator approaches a prey and then all of a sudden they freeze up, the predator loses interest because it thinks it's dead
Yep.
before anything ever happened. So
See, hold on, time out. There we go. So that's another thing I wanted to talk about, because I like to talk about why food is electrical and why we should eat things that are electrical that's still alive. Now that you
absolutely.
say that, they say a lion wouldn't eat a dead carcass if it's been dead for too
Right.
long because it doesn't have enough electric in it. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? So when it comes to, not trying to say that, not because I'm not completely against. I used to be this way. I used to be, no one eats meat, this and this. And,
Right.
eat what you want, right?
Right.
But
Absolutely.
the majority of what you should eat should be alive,
Absolutely.
not
You're
dead
absolutely
rice,
right.
not dead grains, not
Right.
dead, dead bean, right? Alive plants, fruits, right? Veggies and fruits, right? Those things are still alive. Like if you cut an apple open, put it on there. What do they call it? Electro, whatever. Where you measure the electricity,
Yeah.
and
Right.
it's lit up. It's lit up.
Yep. An ohm reader or a voltometer. Like you'll see that it has a certain electric charge. You could do the same experiment with key lines, and you'll see that it reads a couple of it spikes up and down too. But see, you brought up a good analogy for the consumption of living foods and electricity, right? So when you have an alpha predator like the alpha lion, right? We'll just use the lion for this example because we're gonna. I just want to illustrate this key with a meat eating animal, right?
Mhm.
So when the lion kills the prey, right, the alpha lion will consume the heart, the stomach, or the liver. And there's a reason why, right? Now the heart is all muscle tissue
Uh-huh.
that only acts on contraction or muscle contraction. So that's also to say that the heart has the most calcium, magnesium, and potassium in the animal's body.
Because of the myotin and the actin, the myosin and actin.
Yes,
Yeah.
myosin
Okay.
and actin.
Yeah,
Myosin,
calcium. Yeah. Because you need to contract. You need to cross.
right. You're talking about the myofilament slide, right? The calcium slide,
Uh-huh.
right? Where the calcium molecule exits the muscle tissue,
And potassium.
it becomes excited by the calcium in the body, and then it's told to go back in once it comes into contact with
now we get into it. What?
the magnesium and the potassium, right? Which tells it to relax. So like there you go with the heart doing this pumping action, this contraction and relaxation. The lion, the alpha lion, is going to eat the heart because it's got the most essential vitamin minerals for its diet, right? It's going to eat the stomach because the meat that the lion eats doesn't eat meat. You follow that? The meat that the lion eats doesn't eat meat, right? So what the gazelle or any other prey that the lion is usually eating, it's a green eater. It's an herbivore, right? So it's only eating herbs from the ground and from the trees. It doesn't consume anything, right? So now the stomach with the stomach acids has already broken down all those complex carbohydrates, and so now the lion eats the stomach so that way it can get those multivitamins from the vegetation that the gazelle ate, right? Why does it eat the liver? Because the liver, as well as even the kidneys, but the liver primarily is dealing with a lot of vitamin A, D, E, and K, along with certain fats, bile. And so, like, consuming the bile, which is also a pure fluid, it's also antiseptic. It's also a base substance. Bile is essentially base, right? Which when it gets into the small intestine through the common biliary duct, once it interacts with the pancreas secreted digestive enzymes in the common bile duct, that whole little juices and stuff that enters the small intestine, and fats get broke down all up in there. But the fats can't get broken down without enough bicarbonate, which is absorbed from the kidney, right? So like there's a whole lot of acidic, substances in there. But once the lion eats the liver, it neutralizes the majority of the acids. You know what I'm saying? And
so it's almost like how we said earlier. You're not supposed to eat just because it's food or just because it's calories. You're supposed to eat because it's mineral dense, and that's what the lion does intrinsically. Like he just knows, go for the most mineral dense portion of the body. Get what I need to go, right?
Absolutely.
Because yeah, we can get that full sensation. It makes us feel good and knock us out. Give us that what do they call it? What do they call that feeling you get after you eat?
The itis. You get the itis.
Yeah. A lot of people love that portion of life. They love that itis portion. It's like, that's not cool. Like,
but the itis in medicine indicates inflammation, right? So like arthritis, arthritis, inflammation in the joints, pancreatitis, inflammation in the pancreas, hepatitis, inflammation in the liver, nephritis, inflammation in the kidney, endocephalitis, inflammation in the, in the brain, meningitis, inflammation in the meninges, you know what I'm saying? Like anywhere there's itis, it's inflammation, and it might be and it's excessive inflammation at that point. It's not, the amount of inflammation necessary for digestion, metabolization, elimination to occur. It's too much.
Hey, I'm sorry to cut you off, but listen, man, we got to do this because it's about to close. It's about to shut off on us anyway. We only have an hour.
Okay,
but listen, the thing is that we got to do this possibly once or twice a week. The reason being is because people have to know the telltale signs of certain things. So hey, I feel this way. Oh, well, that's what's going on, right? Because look at the person right there. She just wrote, wow, right? Every time I learn from you, we sit down and talk. There's never not been a time that I've talked to you where I find myself to be one of the most knowledgeable, not one of the most knowledgeable, but a knowledgeable person when it comes to health.
Right.
Because I'll look at more of the phenotypes, for the sickle cell trait, but you've done this at a completely different degree. That's why I respect you, because you know your stuff, right? But when it comes to symptoms and signs,
not to cut you off though, brother, but see, that's why I also appreciate our dialogue, because, I'm not talking to a patient. I'm talking to someone who's informed when you and I are able to have a conversation. So like, I love to explain, when explanation is needed. If I don't need to explain anything, I keep it what I consider to be simple. Other people might be like, you just gave me this Jesus-like parable. I don't get what you're saying. But I appreciate the level of education that you've engaged in, like doing your due diligence, investing in your own health to actually know like what's going on with your own body and how to treat it. If the medical community had more patients like you, it would resemble something different. You understand? Like the allopathic medical community would completely look different if there were more patients that showed up at even in the emergency room doing breathing exercises, like, hold on, let me reduce this. Let me get to a place where the pain is not so severe.
See,
Okay, now I can
that's the
articulate
point
it,
we need
you
to
know?
get to. That's why I
Absolutely.
feel like people like you in particular, man. Like, I don't know, I haven't met a lot of people like you with the knowledge and who are willing to give the knowledge. You know what I mean? For free.
Right.
You know, but because the thing is that just because, and I always say this all the time, just because I have knowledge, yeah, I can give it free all the time, but there's sometimes where I just can't give it free. But
Right.
you can follow my page whenever I do it, whenever, and you can learn stuff as I go, or you can follow a
Absolutely.
Patreon that I have. You know, you can
Right.
follow these things because I just can't talk to one person one-on-one. You can follow my work, right? But I
Right.
feel like by your body of work, people will begin to know this stuff. They're gonna be like,
Yeah.
"What? I have
That's
this
that.
or
That's
that."
part of the goal. That's what we aiming for. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you know, with you doing what you do, and you know, and what I'm doing on my side, we just maintaining our lanes, and like, you know, but we got a common objective. You know what I'm saying? And that's just definitely to empower our people with this knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So that way, it's not like, oh, y'all are being stingy with it. No, like, you know, it cost us something to get this level of
A lot of
information.
time and
You know?
effort and money
Yeah.
spent
You know?
and
So, you
opportunity
know,
cost. We could have been doing
yeah.
something else, right?
I mean, if you want to get the free thing, you know, then that's when they need to be on our weekly call or a bi-weekly call, and then like put your comments in the comment box, so that way it's like, okay, yo, what about this? Let me ask you that. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, like, you know, you and I, you said we coming up on an hour. We sat at the market a couple of weeks ago when it was
Yes.
pouring, and we was just
Yes.
like the whole time for
Yes.
like 6 hours, just like, yo, so what do you think about this? Oh, what do you think about that? Yo, how you do that thing with the CMOS? Oh, you know what? I tried putting it in the slow cooker and with the water, and he was like, yo, I never, oh, that I gotta try that. I was like, I'm trying to make it into a powder, yo, like, you know, I'm trying to take that solid thing to make some little, you know, make some CMOS white. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
So, you know, I appreciate what you do, brother, you know, and like, I salute you also for, you know, getting out of the athletic community, like with more than just injuries, with more than just a bad experience, because it motivated you and inspired you to become more, more considerate of your own health. You know, life without that safety net is what I call it, you know. And, you know, again, I salute you for that, brother. You know, I told you once, and I'll tell you again, you need to go to medical school or naturopathic medical school, and join and put on your white coat. You know what I'm saying? I could be like, hold up, not all doctors are screwed up. You know, Dr. Lance here, you know what I'm saying? Like,
It's coming. I
naturopathic
promise you.
doctor, I'm telling
Listen,
you.
that's one of the things on my bucket list, man. Because the reason why is because I feel like knowing what I know on my own and knowing
Yes.
certain signs. Like I was telling the person the other day, and they were looking at me like I was crazy. And I was like, dude, like if your nose is wide and your hair is very kinky and tightly curled, dude, you need to this winter. If you live up north, you need a air humidifier in your house, bro.
Absolutely.
You need an air humidifier so bad because your body is adjusted. Your
Yep.
feelings are telling you need to be in a
Warmer,
warmer,
com-
denser um,
climate.
climate, right? You need to
Yeah.
be in that area. So you need to mimic wherever your body tells you you're from. You need to mimic that all the time.
Absolutely.
And they said,
Absolutely.
bro, what are you talking about, bro? I need an air humidifier. I was like, okay. Because if you were supposed to be in that region, your nose would have been a little bit thinner. Your hair would drop to cover that neck.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
And
they're
you would
looking at
have
me
more
like,
body fat on you. And you would have more body fat on you. You
and you
know?
would have more body fat, right?
And,
And
yo,
you
like,
would most likely be able to digest lactose.
yes, you would, because then your body wouldn't be allergic to the digestive enzyme that the mama cow milk make
The
for the
lactate,
baby cow.
sugar.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, because like, you know, in order to have that, like, you got to have lactase naturally being secreted and produced in your system in order for your body to break that down.
I
You
didn't
know,
know that. I didn't know that.
human beings, you know, the only time there's lactase is when the human mother is producing, the colostrum for the baby. You know what I'm saying? And then it has digestive enzymes along with the proteins, the carbohydrates, the fats. You know what I'm saying? And like, yo, Mother Nature always puts the cure with the poison, right? So like, if
I never thought about it like that, but that's true, bro. I promise to God, that's the truest shit I ever heard. Like, I really don't, but that's the truest shit I ever heard, because I tell people with sickle cell trait, the cure is in the tropics. It's the citrulline, the UVA with the nitric oxide, and all the diverse greens with the nitrates. It's like, it's there. And they look at me like, bro, what are you talking about? It's like, listen, it is there. Like, if you want to figure out sickle cell trait, it is there. And like
like that's, but you know what? Sometimes we start, when we keep it on the Latin terminology, or like the extracts of some of these foods, that's where like a lot of people get lost, because then they're like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, nitric oxide. I'm talking about beet. I'm talking about, spirulina,
watercress.
arugula, exactly. You know what I'm saying? These vegetables that already have the nitric oxide content for your body. You know what I'm saying? And then sarsaparilla. You know what I'm saying? We was talking about this the other day.
That's tropical.
You know what I'm saying? Like, beets and we were talking about this just 2 weeks ago. Beets and sarsaparilla would make a super blood building tonic. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need to pick some of that up from you tomorrow.
Let's do that. Hey, listen,
I need to get that.
Cell concoction.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh yeah. This guy he just commented. We're about to leave, but we'll definitely touch on whatever you're saying here. Let's take a look. What's up, Wayne? How you doing? But he said, move out to Colorado last year. High altitudes, dry, cold climate. From Arkansas, all year. Yeah.
But for that type of climate, cashews, walnuts, macadamia nuts. Yeah, you got to have a fat to coat your skin. You know what I'm saying? Like some shea butter. You got to have a thick, fat to protect the skin. Otherwise, it's gonna like peel in a way that you've never seen your skin peel before. It's crazy how cold peels the skin back. You know what I'm saying? Sea moss for face gel. Yeah, absolutely. Add a little bit of aloe vera gel if they got that in the stores to your sea moss gel. Like, that might thicken it up a little bit. Ooh. Okra with the sea moss in it. You know what I'm saying?
Okra.
Real good stuff right there.
Hey, last thing I'm going to touch on, because you just mentioned, when I'm talking to you, I can talk about so much, because it's like I'm talking to myself for the most part, a more evolved version of myself when I'm talking to you, right? But because you know way more than me when it comes to this stuff. But when you just said that you need that film, that extra layer on your skin, I know people that are from places like Russia that secrete natural oils in their hair and in their skin. And it's like, and I look at that, I'm like, hold on, time out. It's like, you're naturally oily like that? You naturally have it on your scalp and your skin? You naturally have more sebum on your hair? It's like, and that's a reason why you go to certain places closer to the tropics, you feel like, oh, oily, all that. You know how some people smell like wet dogs and stuff like that.
Right. Sulfur. Yeah.
And then, when certain people, let's say with the type C4 hair and stuff like that, the type, the kinky hair, they move further away from that tropics. Now they have skin issues. Yeah. Their hair is breaking off and all that. It's like, well, you don't have that natural film. You don't have that natural layer.
You know what happens when a person eats ice?
No. What happened?
Eating ice leads to iron excretion. So the body drops the iron from like chewing ice, specifically when people chew ice, right?
Yeah.
So here it is that, like, if your body uses ice or uses iron to produce blood, but you're living in a cold climate when you're clearly from a climate that's a little bit more tropical, part of the whole blood need is because the iron is influenced in the body that needs the iron because it doesn't need iron for holding up. You don't
And then
need so much iron and so much blood cell when you're in a cold environment because you just need each one to just work efficiently to have the necessary oxygen and all those other vital substances on it. You know what I'm saying? But when you
Sebi
get
talks about that a lot.
yeah,
Sebi says that.
he left a lot of gaps for people to try to fill in. And salute to the people that do because I know a couple of them that do that. You know what I'm saying? So. KT, Dr. Inky, you know what I'm saying? They do some of that, but there's so many different ways to approach it, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
like
of
when you're
course.
dealing
There's a lane
with
for everybody in this thing, man. Because everybody
absolutely,
has a different mind and a different way of getting towards that same destiny. You know what I mean? That destiny of
right,
health. So that's why me
absolutely,
personally, I listen to everybody now. Before I was like, oh, nah, I would consider it and keep it in mind. But now I'm like, hold on, tell me what you said. Let me kind of
right,
dive back. Let me try to figure out what
right,
you know from your perspective, because not everybody's gonna know every single thing, right? Uh,
absolutely,
but listen, man, great talking to you. We're gonna finish this
absolutely,
up.
brother,
Every time it's always amazing. We got more
absolutely,
now. But
yes,
we're gonna
indeed,
be able to do this often because I love the fact that you give those telltale signs, right? You let people know you have this, you feel this way, well it may be this or it could be that. You can check this and that there it is because we need to get to the point where we know these base we need to get to the point where certain elements are base level knowledge, where it's common
right,
sense. Where if it's out of our hands, now we go to the doctors because they're there for when it's out of hand.
exactly, exactly.
She said,
Yes, they do. He's
"Hey,
talking
my
about
wife
you.
is so awesome, man. Hey, listen, he's gonna be a common face, so get used to it. You know what I mean?
She's talking to you, brother. That's a friend of mine. She's talking to you.
Oh, she's talking to me. Oh,
Yeah, she's
oh,
talking to you.
I thought you was talking about you, man. But big ups, though. But hey,
No,
listen. I appreciate the compliment, but we definitely got to go. I'm gonna see you tomorrow. We're gonna get in there. We're gonna talk a little
definitely.
tomorrow because we definitely
Coconut
gotta.
Grove Market,
We got the Coconut Grove Market. Do you know the address?
3300 Grand Avenue, 33133. You
Okay,
know,
and we're gonna be there
that's
from
on
nine
like
to
Grand and
five.
Margaret. Yeah,
Nine to
and
five.
it's supposed to be like a day kind of like today. So hopefully maybe a little overcast but no rain. You know what I'm saying? So, but definitely put your boots on just in case, because it definitely might come up a little bit tomorrow,
Oh yeah.
But again, I appreciate you, brother. Definitely, let's see about what we doing for next week for same time, same bat time, same bat channel,
We may have to do it twice, man. In the beginning and the end of the week because we have so much things to uncover. Like I don't know if you see it yet, but there's so many things to uncover where I feel like your knowledge it needs to be spread and people need to start following you to get this knowledge daily. You know what I mean? Once they get this knowledge daily, they don't have to rely on, oh, I don't know anything. Now the doctor knows everything, but in reality, he
right,
don't. All he knows is when you get sick. He doesn't know the
right,
before you get sick. He knows. He doesn't know precautionary steps.
right,
He's in a reactive state. He's not in the precaution state. He's
yeah,
not proactive. He's reactive. So,
right.
uh, but yeah, we're gonna
This
talk.
is a way that we can
And
show
that's
people how
more
to be more
organized.
proactive. Absolutely. Well, I guess we'll leave it up to the viewers. If anybody makes any additional comments on your IGTVs, definitely leave a comment below. Should we do this once a week? Should we do this twice a week? What days will work out best for everybody? What time? You know what I'm saying? And what's your
What happened?
CMOS website?
Oh yeah, my CMOS website is jamaicasfavorite.com.
Jamaica's favorite.
You can also get there through CaptainPlanet.com. It's a link. You just find it in the
Okay.
shop. So there's two ways you can find my shop. But and what's yours? What's your site, man?
So my turmeric site is flo.turmericteam.com. flo.turmericteam.com. You can get there through the link in the bio at WYOHHB, which is like, why you over here helping B? You know what I'm saying? Because your man is standing here. That's why. But you know, you can definitely get there through the link in the bio. I appreciate everyone's support. You know, I definitely getting some sarsaparilla because I'm gonna support my brother over there doing his thing.
No, you gotta make that sickle cell concoction. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah,
Like,
I got something already. I told you you know what? I gotta find the paper that I did on post polio syndrome and my lupus treatment. I actually got a testimonial somewhere of somebody that I treated who had keyword had lupus. You know, they're
had,
lupus free
had.
now. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, you know, definitely want to put that information out there to the public. You know.
And then also keep in mind, you know, that blood builder you're talking about, that can also be used as like a pregame workout,
Absolutely.
for athletes, or pre-workout for
Yes.
athletes. Because me personally, I had a concoction where it was like watermelon rind, arugula, beets, you know what I mean, with some antioxidants from fruits and berries and stuff
Right.
like that, and ginger. And you know, and I definitely tell a couple athletes to take it, you know, just as a pre-workout, like in a smoothie form.
Right.
But definitely, I need for you to come up with something because you actually have that DR in front of your name. I don't have anything in front of my name or behind it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
like that's why we collaborate. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we could talk about it from both sides of the fence. You know what I'm saying? That way, whoever knows about it the most, they get that information from one side. The people who just being introduced to it, you know, we meeting in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Intersecting lines of fire. Nobody's left out. You know, give it all to them.
Yep.
So let's just keep rocking, brother. Let's just keep rocking.
Definitely, man. Hey, thank you for your time. We're gonna see each other tomorrow, and man, have fun. Be safe out there, man. I know you're not worried
Peace
about
and
COVID.
Nah, I'm not. You know, I keep my immune system high. You know what I'm saying?
Keep the
You know,
birds on
high
deck.
immune system.
Stay
Yep.
strapped
Keep my
on.
herbs on. That's right. You know, never catch me lacking. You know,
Never,
never,
never.
never catch me lacking. You know, got that turmeric? What? Got that sea moss? What?
Extra clips. Extra clips.
You know, for real. You know, don't start nothing. Won't be nothing. You know. It got there's a song, there's that Movado song, you know, see my gun one time, you know, see it again, man. You
No,
know, pull it one
never.
time, ping ping. Let me get out of here. I'm so excited on my side, yo. Peace and
All
love,
right.
brother. I'll check you tomorrow.
All right. Peace. Yeah. So that was my guy Prince, man. He knows a lot. He's very knowledgeable. Um, Take heed. Listen. Follow him. He knows his stuff. He's good people. Cool, calm guy, nice guy, available. Um, yeah. So hit him up. Follow his page. Let me know what you think. If we need to do 2 videos a week, we'll do that. 1 video a week, we can do that. So thank you for your time.